Hello everyone, finally we are here with the launch of the book named Architecture Beyond the Blueprints. The documentary here shows the humongous efforts that all the mentors and students have put in to come up with this book. It has amazing skills that architecture students have, and these skills are honed through different stories in caricature, in photography, and in a story format that is impeccable. I'm so glad that finally we are releasing this documentary to see what all this book belongs.
The academic wing of the Council of Architecture, which was initially called NIASA, the National Institute of Advanced Studies in Architecture, has now been renamed to Council of Architecture Training Research Center, that is the TRC. TRC is supposed to respond to the growing needs and requirements of architecture education and deals with teacher training, continuing education, awards, competitions, publications, research, and so many other initiatives. This book, which is titled Beyond the Blueprints, is an outcome of a similar initiative which started only as a training program, but later on went into phase 2, where we invited the participants of the training program to take the learnings of the program into their studio and involve the students in the initiative to document the heritage structures and culture which is there in the vicinity of their schools. The work that was done by these students and teachers together with a mentor from the host school was brought on this platform and has been put together in this publication to serve as a point of reference for schools of architecture and also as a book for interest of the society. We hope that this book will respond to the queries of the society and bring them closer to our culture and heritage and cultivate a pride towards what India has and can showcase. Thank you.
Extremely grateful to Council of Architecture for giving us this platform and a foundation to begin the initiative. So it is, if you see, it is one college. For now, it was Srimati K.L. Tiwari College of Architecture, and the entire team of the management, the alumni, the students and the faculties of this college who decided to take it ahead. So they being the main team and all the other collaborating colleges, the 8 colleges pan-India who came together and we took this initiative ahead. The book is in front of you and the effort that is put in by each one of the colleges and each one of the team member is humongous. I'm sure if every other college decides to take it ahead further, it is going to be an amazing series of such documented books that we can bring to the generation and to the architecture fraternity.
We were invited by KL Tiwari College of Architecture to look into architectural documentation through a different perspective. We were given the topic of heritage, and in that we had to focus on Ghodbunder Fort. Both of us, and with Kiran and Omkar and Purvi, we started this project first understanding through their eyes, because like Kiran mentioned, they have done already a documented the entire fort along with Sankraman Studio, who has done the restoration of the project. And we had a good idea about, before meeting the students, we had a good idea about what exactly is Ghodbunder Fort. And although the idea was to document Ghodbunder Fort, but when we went there on the site, like with Omkar, Purvi and Kiran, we understood that it's also about the people and the village which is there surrounded by the Ghodbunder Fort. And we decided, through the eyes of the students, we decided that we should also talk about the villages and the people and their connection to the fort. So that is something which we are also trying to enhance through our stories, to let them understand what the fort was to how they can actually use it and make it part of their community. So yeah, that's the idea, to come up with these 6 stories through comics and narratives.
The context consisted of the temple in the center, the Padmanabha Swami temple, the main deity of the Travancore royal family, and all these kinds of activities, the temple related activities, residences and all around, that is within the fort wall. So it's kind of a classic example of an integrated heritage zone. Now I would rather call this Nilpura a hidden treasure, because as Kaksha mentioned earlier, it is surrounded by new buildings and there is absolutely no visual connection with this particular structure. It's a beautiful structure. About the planning of the Nilpura, which is beautiful, like it has a basement and the ground floor was a granary and then it had a double roof, all those interesting things. How it was used, probably, hundreds of years back, nobody knew. Students did a great job. They could come up with a real story.
So we both were mentoring MV School of Architecture, Bangalore, for this Council of Architecture publication. And in that particular thing, it's about Rangasthala temple, which is approximately 30 kilometers away from the Bangalore city. So the whole idea of this program is, documenting Rangasthala temple in a way that the layman can understand, or the mass can understand, because most of the time whenever we document any architectural structure, we as an architect make a lot of plans, section elevations, but a very small part of community can understand those drawings and the documentation. So over here the whole idea is how we can explain the architecture part of the Rangasthala temple to the masses. And for this we decided that we will do some experimentation with the documentation process with the MV School of Architecture students, and we got really good bunch of students, like really enthusiastic students. And after that we had this session with them to come up with the stories. Yeah, so overall it was really nice, and we are looking forward to have this entire final outcome of this entire process. We are very excited about it.
We were working with Avni University there in Calicut.
And I was part of this exercise where we kind of documented the old Kolhapura's bathhouses of Calicut, Kozhikode, with the students. It was a wholesome experience.
So we tried to find Kolhapuras ourselves, which are the bathhouses. And that is also something that we had never seen before. It's a very interesting structure with a traditional bathhouse, and it's not just about the technicalities of photographs. It's also about how do you absorb a space, how do you look at things, what are the ways of seeing that you can have. It was very warming to see the students, like how they had transformed after 2 days, the way that they were looking at the images now versus how they were 2 days before. That was quite interesting, and we were really happy. And also this is why they produced the kind of work that they have produced now.
We both were like mentoring to the college, for the college SVVV, College of Architecture, Indore. And over there we had a site which is Sarafa Bazaar, which is very famous. Everybody knows about Sarafa Bazaar. You cannot see Sarafa Bazaar in one frame, like it is constantly changing. The daytime it is very different, the evening time it is totally different, night time it is totally different. We also had this different format of 5 C's in the story, which is the characters, the context, the conflict, the climax, and conclusion. Like we divided the story in these 5 zones, and we try to understand which story is actually give the actual essence of Sarafa Bazaar. And that's how we actually shortlisted 3 stories, and after that the students started making illustration of those stories. So now the final format which we are getting is more like these maps and the stories. And when you look at the map, you look at the stories and the photographs, you actually understand what Sarafa Bazaar is. That's the whole intention.
The second project, which is done by Hiray College of Architecture, Bandra, they were looking at the Kalba Devi and Buleshwar area of the island city. So, I mean, as we know, the Kalba Devi is primarily a market commercial area, and Buleshwar is primarily a residential area. So basically they were looking at the whole chunk, and which is a classic example of an interface of both commercial and residential. So as I said, the interesting thing is that there were various pockets. One was a religious pocket and with a community around, a Gujarati community around. One was the Mangaldas market, with all the commercial thing happening around, which extends to the bazaar area, which ends up in another temple, the Mumbai Devi temple. They came up with a beautiful grandpa character who was kind of, a person who was 90 plus, who was taking a kid through all these areas and explaining the story. So ultimately, again, the second project was also a success.
I am the mentor to document heritage structures in Hyderabad, particularly Sanjeevan Rao Pate, and we were collaborating with the Wholesome University. It's very interesting. We had never visited Sanjeevan Rao Pate before, and it's quite interesting because when we earlier saw through Google Maps, it's a small village with a fort inside. Fort is also quite small, but each and every house had a courtyard in it. And so we had some discussion about, what are the ways of looking at a photo, what are the ways of documenting architecture. We also had some examples to show to them. And then we visited the site. And when we visited it, in the morning, everybody just spread out and started photographing different elements that they saw. Some of them really enjoyed photographing the doors of the settlement. Some people went inside the fort and they found interesting photographs, like old photographs. The current owner of the fort also came, visited, and shared some insights with us and with the students. Some people just went inside the houses which were around the fort and talked to the women there. So all these experiences, they were trying to translate those experiences into photographs. Yeah, so the idea was not to document just the objects, but document the story and make a story through those photographs. So that was quite an interesting task that happened.
This was a great initiative by Council of Architecture to have, to bring in such kind of projects where which are the very essence of our, culture. But we never think of, making them such explorative and, put it into such a kind of experience design platform. So I think it was a very novel and interesting project to work on, and I thank Council of Architecture for giving all of us such a fabulous opportunity to work on.
My name is Shreya Khandekar. I'm an architect and a comic artist. I make comics about architecture and cities in partnership with Levertis. I recently had the chance to work with the students at the San Academy in Coimbatore for a visual storytelling workshop where the students had to document a historical site in their city. And they chose this very interesting site. It was a dilapidated British bungalow where they explored its history, the transformation, or the present state, how it sits in the current urban fabric. They were thinking creatively about how the bungalow could benefit the local community and how them as architects could work as a mediator, not not as a problem solver, not somebody who could, completely come up with solutions. So they were looking at themselves more as a collaborator. That's very interesting, and it was great to see their enthusiasm. I thank architect Rupali Gupte for giving us this opportunity. Thank you so much.
One of the most fascinating parts of this bookmaking process is how it blends the visual with the narrative. You'll find stories in the book that go beyond bricks and mortar. Stories of ghosts, stories of memories, and perhaps that time a loft of pigeons decided to throw a pigeon party in the watchtower. The walls don't talk, but the people surrounding them do. So this book is an attempt of capturing that essence, connecting architecture to the human experience visually. And now I'm thrilled to be a part of this collaborative creation in the capacity of an editor. My role was to weave these diverse voices into a cohesive narrative, and collaborating with such passionate college students and their mentors from across the country brought fresh perspectives to the forefront.